Bueno, pues estamos con Julien Maury, uno de los dos directores de la dupla con Alexandre Bustillo, pertenecientes al extremismo francés, director de Introducción, de un montón de películas, conquistando el año pasado Sientes con The Deep House, también tienen Living, tienen un montón de películas y pues vamos a hacer la entrevista en inglés por necesidades normales. Y bueno, vamos a empezar. Julien Maury, it's a pleasure to meet you. And let's start with the interview. Are you comfortable with being attached to the new French extremity, or is something that corresponds to the press and the critics?
This is something that has been created by the foreign critics. We've discovered it by reading articles, and we said, "Oh, okay, we are part of the new French wave of horror." Because in from the French perspective, it wasn't a wave at all. You know, it was at least our tiny wave, but because it always has been very difficult to do this kind of horror in France. It was always complicated, and at that time, I think we were at the right place at the right moment, because we had this TV channel that you know here in Spain, which is Canal Plus, and they were looking for horror projects, and so we were lucky to bring them à l'intérieur at that time, and so now we are quite proud to be part of this momentum.
What themes are you interested in developing in the future in your filmography?
We are still loving horror movies. This is something that, you know, for most of people, it's a part of the teenage period. You know, everyone is saying, "Oh, you still love horror movies, but you're grown up now, so what's wrong with you?" And but with Alex, we still love that as an audience, as viewers, and we always have considered ourselves as horror fans before being, you know, horror directors.
Yeah.
And so in that way, we still want to do horror. So of course, it's not as easy as I was saying. So we are exploring different subgenres that we also love. But we, in the future, we plan to go back to horror. Yeah.
To pure horror, or?
We hope so. Yeah. Our next feature won't be pure horror. It will be survival, but maybe the next one.
Are you interested in making a film completely outside of the horror genre in the future? Or is something that you don't mind?
No, we are not, like, you know, stuck into the genre, like we want to do horror movie, only horror movies. We want to explore what we love as an audience, and we feel like we have plenty of stories to tell. With Alex, you have to know that we are writing almost every day, and you know, calling each other, like, through, you know, pitching ideas, and so we have drawers full of stories and scripts, and not all of them are horror, and we have projects in different type of movies, but for example, you will never saw a pure comedy from us. You know, this is something...
Horror comedy? Like
maybe.
Shaun of the Dead? Or
maybe,
something like
maybe.
That?
We love Shaun of the Dead, so yeah, maybe.
What do you think is the Maury and Bustillo touch? That details that make your movies unique?
That's not a question for me. It's
for the critics.
It's a question for the critics.
Something you see in your movie that is your own. This is my thing.
the names of the directors. No, it's honestly, I've never thought about this. I would say maybe the fact that we love to mix very different universe. So sometimes it can really be surprising, but if we have to find a way of defining our cinema, I would say that maybe the strange mixture between different universes.
I think it's a great definition.
Okay.
Some of your inspiration include Clive Barker and, of course, John Carpenter. Doing some research, I have read that you were part of the Halloween 2 project by Rob Zombie and also of a remake of Hellraiser, but in the end you left the project. Is that true in first place, and what happened there? Well, I think we all love to see Bustillo, Maury, Hellraiser or Halloween movie.
You can see the script if you want. It's long stories each time. For Halloween 2 and for Hellraiser. Hellraiser was the first. I'm going to try to be quick and to sum up. After À l'intérieur, the Weinstein brothers, they bought the movie, and right away they said, okay, we want to produce you another movie. And they said, okay, we have the rights of Hellraiser, and we want you to write a new Hellraiser. As huge fans of Clive Barker, we said, okay, we are going to think about something, and we wrote a story, like, you know, we tried to bring the Barker's universe into our universe. And the thing is that the Weinstein brothers said, as they always say, like, wow, incredible, we love it. And so we went to New York to meet them, and we thought that they were like horrible persons. Now we know.
Producers.
Yes, but worse than that. And they weren't respecting Clive Barker at all. And we were with Alex like big fans of his poetry, his books, his paintings, his movies, of course. And we went to Los Angeles to meet Clive Barker, and we worked with him on this project. And for us, we didn't want it to work for the Weinstein brothers, but we wanted to work for Clive. So we said, okay, let's forget about the producers and focus on the creative aspect. And Clive Barker was really excited about the project because we weren't, as I said, trying to copy his universe and to do like a poor rip-off of his masterpiece. And we changed, we took all the Hellraiser elements and we brought it into our universe, which was much more pop in a way, and much more closer to a horror adventure movie. And so Clive was totally into it, and he gave us a lot of ideas, you know, and we were like, you know, writing down ideas from Clive Barker, and we were like, you know, in the candy shop, and you want to try, and we were in his workshop, and there were all of these paintings everywhere, and sculpture from Cabal, and so yeah, he gave us ideas, like craziest ideas about Pinhead. I remember he said, guys, let's change his aspect, and we were like, what? No, it's Pinhead. We keep Pinhead. He said, no. Of course we keep the pins, but let's change his robe, and let's change him into like a pope. The Pope of Hell, and let's put it in white, you know, it's a white dress, and he take off the blood of his victims, like just by tearing up, you know, the blood by the skin, like sweating blood, you know, and all the drops of blood like float in the air and come and stain his white dress. And in the end, at the end of the movie, he's like a cardinal. He's in red, all in red. And we were like, what the fuck? We love it. And all this kind of stuff. And but unfortunately, I'm going to be quick. But we at one point we wrote the script, and the Weinstein brothers said, okay, we want to do a horror movie for teenagers. So we are going to change that, and the whole character, the main character was a woman like 45 years old, and they say no, that's a horror movie, so she has to be 20 and she has to have big boobs, and really she said that, he said that, and we said, are you serious? We are talking about Hellraiser, and he said no, and guy, you want to do Wishmaster. It's like, you know, it's not the same deal. And then weeks after weeks of struggling, he put new script writers on the loop, and it was the guy who wrote Saw Part 4 at that time. And then at one point they proposed different scripts, and we said no, we don't want to do that. And one day Bob Weinstein said, okay, next week you're going to LA, and you lock down with these two scriptwriters, with Alex and with Clive Barker, and you all work together to write a script. And then we said no, we call our agent and we said no, it's already difficult to write as a duo, so now like 5 people including Clive Barker inside, no, it's going to be too complicated. So we quit the project, and that was basically it. And Halloween 2 is another story.
Yeah.
Halloween 2 is we wrote the script. We met Malek Akkad in London. Malek Akkad said, okay, let's do it. We started the cast, and it was the same cast as the Rob Zombies movie. It was the direct sequel.
You were going to direct it also, or not only writing?
No. We wrote it and we were supposed to direct it. Mm-hmm. And Malek Akkad, you know, is the son of Mustafa Akkad, who is the original producer of the
I don't know him, but
the Halloween.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, his father died into an explosion. But and Malek Akkad is the new owner of the co-owner of the right of the Halloween franchise. Mm-hmm. And we basically passed an exam with him. We went to London, and he was like, okay,
a Halloween exam.
Exactly. Like, okay, what do you know about Michael Myers?
How many killings? So
no, it's like, okay, but too bad for you, we are suckers for Myers, you know. We are so much of a big fans, so we knew everything. And he was like, in your opinion, why is called The Shape? And he was like, okay, it's The Shape because blah 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 blah. And then he said, okay, these guys are okay for me. And so we started. And at one point, Rob Zombie had a contract of 2 movies with the Weinstein brothers. So he did Halloween, and then he had the second film, and he tried to do a Mexican catcher trucker movie called Tyrannosaurus Rex, but he couldn't find the money. And while he was searching for the money, we were working on Halloween 2. And at one point he said, okay, I'm going to come back and get rid of my contract of 2 movies and I'm going to direct Halloween 2. So of course he was, you know, more famous than we were, and so the Weinstein brothers said, guys, sorry, but we are going to take Rob for the sequel.
And that was it.
And that was it, and we had this very kindful message from Rob Zombie, who said, guys, I'm really, really sorry to kick you off, but I love what you wrote, but I'm going to write my own stuff, and I love À l'intérieur. I would have been happy to see you direct Halloween, blah, 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 but, but we were out. But it was okay, you know.
On Wikipedia, there is a list of your influences, I want to.
Okay.
There are Dario Argento, of course.
Yeah.
Roman Polanski.
Yeah.
Cliff Barker, and of course John Carpenter. John Carpenter. I always. Can you tell me your favorite movie of each one of them, or two? It hasn't to be one single one, but your favorite movie.
It's complicated. I would say it's really hard. Really hard. For John Carpenter, it's I would say maybe so in my head it's like no this one, no this one. Of course, Halloween and The Thing are the most classical, but and they are part of my personal cinema experience, and I would say maybe The Thing for John Carpenter, or for Clive Barker. Hellraiser. How can I not say Hellraiser? I have to have one. Roman Polanski. I'm so much in love of all of his movies for different reasons, but even the bad ones,
Yeah.
No, but there are movies that are hated by people that I love. For example, The Lynch Gate with Johnny Depp. I love The Lynch Gate, and people say, well, it's not good. I love the music score is incredible, one of the best music ever written, and.
The same with Dario Argento, or with the latest movies, or it's a different.
I kept Dario for the end because Dario is an exception. Dario, as his last movie is complicated.
It's complicated. It's a thing. It's a thing.
It's really but I'm dying to see his last one.
Yeah, and also Vortex with Gaspar Noé. He's the main character. So
yes, but I don't know if I want to see him as an old Alzheimer person. And he's so important for me that I don't know if it's the image I want to see. But his last movie, even if it smells not so good, but I want to see it.
Like, me too.
I'm
in the same position about that.
Black glasses. I remember I met him for the first time. It was for Dracula 3D, and we had this. We were like having a dinner with him and Pascal Logier, and we were talking about Dracula 3D, and we were like, what happened? And he said, I enjoyed a lot. It was so fun. If it's shooting in 3D, the 3D is like wow. The camera is like whoa. And after he said, the script I recognize is not so good. I was like, yeah, not so good. Yeah, it's okay. But if I have to pick one.
Maybe Suspiria.
Suspiria. Suspiria.
It's the classical one, but
it's everyone says
movie.
Suspiria, but it's so amazing, so incredible movie.
Have you met any of your cinema idols, or haven't you met anyone?
Dario Argento,
Clive Barker,
Clive Barker, and for both. I wasn't disappointed because there is this famous sentence that said never meet your idols.
Yeah.
When you're always disappointed. No, Clive Barker was an incredible human being, but really incredible, funny, cultivated, and was very, very interesting people to meet. Dario Argento as well. He speaks fluently French, so it was really cool to discuss with him, and he's like, very sympathetic, smiling and having this
Charming.
Yes, charming. And we've met George Romero. George Romero, we had this dinner in Toronto just before the first screening of À l'intérieur. And it was a surprise. The organizer of the festival said, okay, let's just have a quick diner and then go to the theater. But it was a surprise. And then I remember entering the restaurant and I was like, that's George Romero. And I grab Alex, that's George Romero there. And then the organizer arrived and said, okay, that's our table. And I was like, what the fuck? And I remember the first minute I was like,
Oh my God.
I couldn't talk and I was like, okay. And Romero was so much fun and cool. Cool, you know, like.
The definition of coolness.
Yeah, and was like, you okay guys? Yeah, okay. Really looking forward to see your movie. And I was like, you watching our movie? Wow. and I remember was like, you know, talking about his movies and I was like tomorrow we are going to we were the day after we were supposed to meet in New York the Weinstein brothers for Hellraiser.
Yeah.
And I remember he said, guys, don't sign with the devils. And I was like, it's too late, George. Now we are going to see them tomorrow. And he was like, beware. He was like, no, and he was fucking right. But and it was really, really, really cool to meet him. And it's basically it. Yeah, I think so.
And what do you think about self-awareness in today's cinema, like breaking the fourth wall, for example, in Matrix Resurrections, or I don't know, Deadpool? Do you see that something positive or negative? Because it's an easy research to do in the latest cinema. So, what do you think about it?
I don't like that. To be honest, I hated the last Matrix for that reason, and I hate Deadpool. I hate. I'm just looking for a movie that is.
I want to ask you about Scream. It's a different kind of self-awareness.
Yes, it's different. It's different because you can watch the movie. I think first degree. Like if you are young and you don't have the references, I think it's a slasher.
Yeah.
I have issues with people that says Scream ruined the horror industry and ruined the slasher genre. And I was like, no, I think it's a very good slasher. You know, it's of course it plays with the references and it's this self-awareness you're mentioning. It can be like something you don't like, but
it was like a usual movie.
Yeah, and
you watch it that way.
And it's a fucking good movie.
Yeah,
the original is like wow. It's when I saw the movie, I was like, I loved it really. So yes, you know, I don't know if I have an example of a movie that breaks the fourth wall that is actually good. Maybe sometimes you have some moment with the audience, but it's not the full
funny
movie
games.
made. Funny games and Fight Club.
Yeah,
you know, is like that a little bit, and I love Fight Club, so that would be an example maybe. But it's not, the whole movie is not built around that. It's only like moments, you know, like, you know, one look at the camera or when.
Not everything based on self-awareness, only if like a point on some. And have you seen the new Scream movie?
Yeah.
The one. Do you know what the concept recall is? The recall. Do you like the concept that they created on the movie? Because I think it's a fact that some movies are doing that, but I want you to tell me if do you think if it could be a positive thing, or do you see it as something very negative to the industry?
No, I don't have any very clear opinion on that. The only thing is that the only thing I judge from my perspective is the quality of the movie. You know, I don't care if it's a requel, a prequel, if it's a remake, because it always have been like that in Hollywood.
Yeah.
You know, always. They always have, taken a franchise or a movie and remake it, or change elements, or keeping all the actors and changing the so this is something that is classic. But just by judging the quality of the movie, no, I thought it wasn't incredible. It was like, okay.
Did you like the new Scream movie?
It was okay. No, but there are some killings that are fun, but honestly, I wasn't surprised. I was like, okay, I guess who the killers are, and I was right. So during, one of the fun thing about the Scream saga is to guess
the whodunit
and the whodunit, and not being able to say it and being in the end surprised. And here I thought it wasn't surprising at all, and the way they used the old characters was a little bit disappointing. They could have made something much more fun. And
I like the goofy death. Spoiler alert. I enjoyed very much that death concrete.
Yeah.
But another question: if playing a little, if an opportunity arose to direct a requel of one of your favorite horror series, what would you say about it? If they let you some creative liberty, to freedom to do it, would you say yes to a saga that you have idealized about horror? Maybe a Halloween one, or...
Yeah, of course. Yes, I think we would consider Halloween, of course, but Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Also, because
it deserves a recall. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, a recall is a new way to create money for the industry. So
yes, it's we've been attached to almost all of the old 80s franchise.
Yeah.
We've worked on Nightmare on Elm Street. We've been offered the opportunity to work on Halloween. We've worked. Now we've read the script of the new Friday the 13th, but it was just after Leatherface, and it was another origin story, and we were like, again, we are not going to do origin story of Leatherface and origin story of Jason, and so we said no, but the movie was never made. But doing a very, very hardcore Friday the 13th could be something that
I think it's
very, very cool and fun to do. Yeah.
I like your version of Leatherface. I am the one who defended to death.
That's you?
Yeah. Me, I like it. I genuinely
You're the only one.
To finish, as a wish, if you had total freedom to make a film, what theme or what would you like to be about? Would you like it to be about the... total freedom for everything.
We with Alex, we are absolutely fascinated about the World War II period, and we would love to one day direct an horror movie taking place during the war. And it has already been made, of course, but we have several ideas, and and especially an adaptation of a book that we love, and we are working for decades now on trying to bring it to life, and I think that would be something like really, really Cool.
I wish we can see that movie one day.
Horror movies and Nazis are always a good match.
Yeah. I think it would be it. So
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Thank you all for watching.